I need you all to watch and share this video because it's time for us to take off the diplomatic gloves when it comes to dealing with Republicans in this country, especially particularly those who want to scream, huff, and holler that somehow Democrats are fascists. I mean, it's the Republican Party who's acting like fascists. Now, a few days ago, President Biden took off the gloves and said that Republicans are acting like fascists. He is he is right to a point. He said semi-fascists. There's nothing semi-fascist about what's going on in today's Republican Party. They are acting like fascists. Now, our fellow YouTuber made this point and gave this high school lesson plan to us all about the 14 defining characteristics of fascism. Unfortunately, he skipped one, but we'll make do with what he has because the point is made. The first point: powerful and continuing nationalism. Fascist regimes make constant uses of political mottos, slogans, symbols, songs, and flags. Now, call me stupid or call me disingenuous or whatever, but I've seen all five of that in the last few years with the Make America Great Again slogan, the Make America Great Again motto, the Make America Great Again flags being flown everywhere I looked for the last 4 years during the Donald Trump regime, still being flown now, only this time it's We Save America Again. The songs by some idiotic fools out there, and of course the flags, we already know. Point two: disregard for human rights. Human rights can be ignored often because of fear of enemies and the need for security. As a result, people tend to look the other way, approve of torture, approve of long incarcerations of prison, approve of executions and assassinations. We are seeing that inside the Republican Party now and its supporters. They looked the other way when it came to George Floyd. And a lot of them will say, oh, yes, of course, what happened to George Floyd was terrible, but they have done nothing to stop it or nothing to address it. They approve of torture. Again, George Floyd and so many others who were murdered by law enforcement in this country. Approve of long incarcerations of prisoners. Brittany Griner, who's in jail in Russia for a minor whatever, drug whatever, and all of them are celebrating it. And approval of executions and assassinations, all of them and Republicans are threatening FBI agents for the sheer sin of investigating Donald Trump. And they're okay with killing law enforcement officers because they irk Donald Trump. Point three: identification of enemies as a unifying class. People are rallied in the unifying political frenzy over the need to eliminate a perceived common enemy, either racial, ethnic, or religious minorities, liberals, communists, socialists, terrorists. Now, I've lost count of how many times I've been called a communist, a commie, or a traitor, or a terrorist by Donald Trump supporters for the sheer reason of being a voter who voted against Donald Trump. I've lost count, honestly. And they identify me as an enemy, although I'm an American citizen. I'm an American. I was born in America. My father was an American serviceman. I'm seen as an enemy, not because I was born in another country, not because I give my loyalty to a terrorist group, but because I voted against Donald Trump and the Republican Party. But it just keeps getting worse. Suppression of the military, part four. The military is given disproportionate amounts of government funding. Soldiers and military service are glamorized. Now, I have to disagree with that a little bit because honestly, as I said earlier, my father was a U.S. serviceman. His father was a serviceman. I have people in my family that served this country. I have friends who serve in this country. One of my Facebook friends, and as much as I love him to death, constantly reminds me that his father served in Vietnam. I have to disagree with that, but here's where I agree with it as well. The Republican Party wants the United States military to be the muscle. And I don't mean the muscle as in protecting our country. I mean by its muscle as in punishing its enemies, most of whom are Americans, or at the very least in their minds, most of them are Americans just because they voted against them. And that is never going to happen. So when they try to use our military might, our governance, they don't see the military as being the guardians of our nation. They see the military as guardians of the Republican Party. There's a difference there. Point 5, widespread sexism. The government tends to be almost exclusively male-dominated. Traditional gender roles are made more rigid. Divorce, abortion, and homosexuality are suppressed. You're seeing that right now. Not only with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, not only with the taking the right, the picking apart of the rights of the LGBTQ, but I remember only a small minority of people in the Trump regime being female in this cabinet. I don't even remember anyone. See, what really bothers me about this is that they're trying to push this country back to the 60s where women had their quote unquote place, where they had their place. The fact is, that was then, this is now. It's not going to happen again. Point 6, controlled mass media. Now pay attention to this. The media is directly or indirectly controlled by the government. Censorship is very common. We saw a lot of that during the Trump regime. Donald Trump himself went off against any media, whether it be the news media or even a comedy show like Saturday Night Live, if they went against him. And we saw what happened when, and more to the point, Donald Trump actually repeated or paraphrased or outright quoted the words of Joseph Stalin, saying the media should be destroyed. The media is the enemy. I'm sorry, excuse me. The media is the enemy of the people. And he has said that over and over and over and over and over and over again, almost for the entirety of the 4 years he was in office. And now still says that on Truth Social. All because they said something against Donald Trump. Point 8, religion and government are intertwined. We're seeing that now. When you have politicians like Mary Jean Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert saying that there should not be separation of church and state, that is what they're talking about. Now, going back to this, government uses the most common religion in the nation as a tool to manipulate public opinion. Religious messages and terminology are common for government leaders. I just named you two people who are trying to do just that. Lauren Boebert and Mary Jean Taylor Greene, the two clowns who shouldn't be very near the United States Congress, not alone near the presidency, not alone anywhere in politics. Now, this is not a downplay on religion, but when the religion becomes the government, what you get and what we see and what we experience is exactly what they're experiencing in the Middle East with the Taliban, with ISIS, ISIS-K, whatever they call themselves. And there is no possible way that should happen. And the worst thing is, during the Trump regime, they saw Donald Trump as some kind of savior, almost close to being the Lord Jesus Christ. No, He was not. But when you have religious people like this, like the two I just mentioned, Green and Bobert, there's no telling what could happen. And you got a lot of religious nut jobs like Greg Locke and Joshua Fierstein who act like this, who want that, and there's no telling how far those people will go. Point 10. Labor power is suppressed. Labor unions are seen as a huge threat to a fascist government. Labor unions are either severely suppressed or eliminated entirely. Trump was trying to do just that. His cronies were trying to do just that. Point 11. Disrespect for intellectuals and the arts. Open hostility to higher education. Professors and other academics are censored or even arrested. Free expression in the arts and writing is openly attacked. We are seeing that now. Every time the Republican Party sees something on television or in the movies or in music or in the written word on books or in media or anywhere, they use that trigger word, woke. It's too woke. It's all too woke. When it comes to seeing a homosexual character on screen, too woke. When it comes to a black lead on television, remember male or female, woke. And when it comes to higher education, Joe Biden just signed a bill forgiving student loan debt and loans. We need more smart people in this country, not dumb ones. We should be having we should have an entire generation of Albert Einsteins and Sigmund Freuds, not a generation of Lauren Boeberts, Rush Limbaughs, and God knows whoever else these people look up to. And when it comes to censoring academics and professors, look what happened during the coronavirus pandemic. That's still going on. Republicans are refusing to listen to the science, and people are still dying because of it. Point 12. Obsession with crime and punishment. Local police are given almost limitless power to enforce laws. People are often willing to overlook police abuses in the name of patriotism. Often a national police force with virtual unlimited power. We are seeing that now. I have nothing but the greatest respect for those who wear the badge and the gun and stand in front of the streets, knowing that they're walking targets, putting their lives on the line for you and me. I have none but the greatest respect for them. But there is a limit. There should be a limit to what law enforcement can do without consequence. And when people start overlooking or will be willing to overlook police abuse in the name of patriotism, you saw what happened you saw how a good segment of this country, mainly Republicans, overlooked what happened to George Floyd, overlooked what happened to Breonna Taylor, overlooked what happened to so many in this country, so they can fly that blue wall flag. Now, again, I have the greatest respect for law enforcement, but the blue wall flag makes me sick to my stomach. What is that supposed to be about? I thought the blue is what the uniform was, what the badge was. You don't advertise things like that, and you definitely don't just overlook it because you think for 1 second that this this idea is supposed to immunize them from any kind of consequence. And that is exactly what they want right there when it comes to fascism. Point 13. Rapid cronyism and corruption. Friends and associates appoint each other to government positions. Officials use governmental power and authority to protect their friends from accountability. We saw that during the Donald Trump administration, during the Donald Trump regime. I've lost count of how many people he pardoned. And I'm not talking about pardoning like drug offenses, getting them out of jail. He did one or two of those, just willy-nilly. But I'm talking about his best friends. People like Roger Stone. People who asked for pardons, like Matt Getz. And as for friends and associates appointed to each position, his entire family, except only for Laura Trump, maybe, was in his regime, was in his administration, if you will. Beavis Butthead Skipper, his 3 kids, all of them were involved in it. Melania Trump, his wife, third wife, the hot wife, was in the administration as well. She knew things. So, again, that's the way it is with these people. Now, the final point here, fraudulent elections. Elections are often a complete sham. Elections might be manipulated by smear campaigns, manipulation of the media to control elections, or the occasional assassination of opposition candidates. The first 3 we saw in the Trump regime. The 4th one, not so much, but we came very, 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 very close to that on January 6, 2021. When they started screaming, hang Mike Pence, and Donald Trump didn't do a damn thing to stop them. Didn't do anything to calm them down. Didn't do anything to say, no, I don't want this. I want Mike Pence to do the right thing, but I don't want him hanged. He went along with it and he supported it. And it's just by some miracle out there that they didn't succeed in getting to Pence and actually lynching him. If they had gotten to Pence or any member of Congress or the Senate at that day on January 6th, you can be sure that the attitudes that we saw from the Donald Trump posse, the Donald Trump army that was at January 6th, they would have murdered them. Make no mistake about that. So those were the points of the characteristics of fascism. Now, with all respect to President Biden, calling them fascists, that's not true. They are fascists, and I gave you the perfect examples as to how and why they are. Because their behavior over the last few years have shown them to be fascists. It's up to you to see the truth. Again, I'm asking you all to share this video because, quite honestly, the Republican Party is only steps away from going to full-blown fascism. That sooner or later, they're going to have another leader. Maybe it's Ron DeSantis, maybe it's Donald Trump again, that'll push this country towards fascism. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.